So from the Boise powwow, some impactful memories. I'll never forget this moment. It was
Hello and welcome back to the Get a Student Life podcast, where we talk about all things student life and love telling stories from students at Boise State. I'm your host, Molly Ballison, and today I'm here with Veronica Yellowhair. She's the Boise State Seven Arrows Powwow Director and a student at Boise State. So thanks, Veronica, for being here today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's my first podcast. I'm
Absolutely.
really excited.
So our question of the day for you, since from talking to you, I learned that you're an avid reader, I'd love to know what your favorite book is.
My favorite book is Lone Eagle by Danielle Steele. Sometimes people like to poke fun at her books, but it was the first book that got me into reading. And so I think that's why I have such a connection to it, and I have such a soft spot for Danielle Steele. So that just opened me up to every type of book out there, every genre. But yeah, that's my favorite book, and I recommend everybody get a copy and at least try to have a crack at it and see what you think.
Yeah, give it a try. Well, thanks for sharing. So you're in your senior year, correct? Tell us a little bit about what you're studying and what you want to do with what you're studying.
Sure. So again, I'm a senior at Boise State University, and my major is writing, rhetoric, and technical communications. And I hope after post-graduation, I'll graduate in the spring. I hope to get a job at least in technical writing or even proposal writing. I actually am taking a proposal development class at Boise State, and that's been very interesting, very fun. And so I wouldn't mind if my path just changed a little, but as long as it has something to do with writing, I'm all happy about that.
How has what you've learned about writing impacted your position as the Seven Arrows Powwow Director?
It has quite a bit, because in my position as a Seven Arrows Powwow Director is that a lot of things it is encouraged to be documented, just so that for maybe next year when we have the powwow again and if somebody else is holding that position, they can go back and see the documents that we provided and the steps that we took to get to whether it would be how we assembled the head staff, or how we communicated with the Extra Mile Arena, just suggestions that we made or things that we needed to work on from the previous powwow. And with my degree and how it has influenced my position as a powwow director, is that I've written a lot of memo/proposals, and it's to the point where my fingers, I feel they're bruised now because I've written so much. However, that has really given me experience and has really developed my writing, because in a way, I can be a perfectionist when it comes to writing. So I want to get it even better the next time I write a next proposal. And I still use the Writing Center, because I feel that they are giving some really great insights, and they really help me be a better writer. So I really enjoy using them as a resource. And yeah, so I would have to say that my writing has improved, and it has been so, in a way, muscle memory, where I can really take the things that I've taken, the classes I've taken at Boise State, and use them as my powwow directing job, and making sure I use bullet points, and making sure that not all these words are jumbled, and making sure my headings are clear, my second style heading is clear. And yes, so it has really been a benefit, and I'm so grateful for all the classes that I have taken at Boise State, and that I am really using my skills as my powwow directing position.
Absolutely. And you learn the most by having an experience where you get to sharpen those skills. And like, I'm also passionate about writing, so I resonate with what you're saying. And how I get to write for student life and sharpen those skills, even though I'm still learning them in school. I learned so much more by being immersed in a job position that allows me to grow in those and then have a step off to somewhere else. So that's awesome. You're able to do that through being a POWA director. So what are some of the other responsibilities you have as being the POWA director?
Yes. So other responsibilities that I have as being a POWA director is, I would say the number one is to assemble the head staff. And assembling the head staff is not something that you can think about in one day or maybe even a week. I'm a very passionate powwow dancer. I dance Women's Fancy Shawl, and I love and respect the drums. So whenever I go to a powwow, I always like to listen to the drum group, stand next to them, and just watch and learn. And so when we assemble the head staff, I go to powwows, maybe not every weekend, but I go to them maybe every other weekend or every 2 weeks. And I watch, I notice people. I notice how some dancers or how some drummers carry themselves throughout the powwow. And also what really helps is that if they have been a head dancer or head man in the past, because as a head staff we assemble, it's called the master of ceremonies. That's the MC of the powwow. It's like almost to give it an analogy, it's when you go to a rodeo and the MC, the master of ceremonies, when he's telling you what the next category is, bull riding or mutton busting. So that's we have an MC at the powwows, and so I'll listen to the MCs, or I'll watch the arena directors. Arena directors are the ones that communicate with the MC, and they tell them if a drum is ready to start singing, singing and start drumming for the next category. And I watch all of that, and I really pay attention of how the MC how he keeps the crowd moving and the schedule moving. And I'm not saying that I'm the expert at head staff selections, not saying that at all, but I just notice things. I notice people, and I notice how people carry themselves. And that's just the one big step as we continue to do more steps to actually put on a powwow. So the next one would be starting to pick the location. So the location is going to be the Extra Mile Arena that we had last year. So awesome. Really excited about that. And also gathering of how much the reward money would be, because this is going to be a contest powwow. And we would decide how much the reward money would be, for example, the adult category, or if it for the junior category. And so it's really just the small things that make the powwow what it is. So the head staff, the location, the reward money, and we also consider about the food vendors. We consider about vendors that would like to sell their jewelry or merchandises, and even the arena, if we would like to have locations of where we would like the MC stand. So all of these details make up a powwow. And foremost, we would always want to make sure that we take care of the drummers and dancers, make sure that if it would be outside, they would have plenty of water, bottled water, or if the drummers, to make sure that they had water, or make sure they had cough drops at their drums, because when they sing, those cough drops really help them clear out their voices. And yeah, so that's just some things that make up a powwow, but those are the steps that lead to it. And again, documenting about who the potential head staff would be. Also proposing maybe if we wanted to have t-shirts at the powwow, the 7 Arrows powwow t-shirts, to promote powwows, or have t-shirts become a personal memento for the dancers, drummers, or spectators that, hey, I attended this powwow and And I've kept a lot of shirts and jackets. I've collected over 15 years of me dancing or attending at powwows, and I still have them, and I wear them proudly. Some of them a little tethered, so I don't wear them so much, but I keep them as a memory.
Yeah, I'm sure they're dearly loved.
Mm-hmm.
So can you describe what the purpose of a powwow is and what it would look like for someone to walk in, like what they would see when they walk in?
Sure. So powwows are Native American ceremonial dance and song, and they are, in a way, a ceremonial medicine for Native Americans, even also in Canada too. And the dances consist of different styles, from traditional to grass dancing to fancy, or to let's say, I already said traditional chicken dancing. And some of them are from different tribes. So for example, the scrub dancing, it's in the traditional category, and that's from the Ho-Chunk tribe. Or the jingle dress dancing, that is from the Ojibwe tribe. And the grass dancing, that is from the Great Plains. And the Great Plains can consist of from northern Texas all the way to Canada. And some of these tribes, they all contribute to powwows, and they're all ceremonial dances from those tribes, and they bring good medicine. So sometimes, maybe if you want to go on YouTube and follow more and learn more about powwows, you will notice that there's some people, that powwow dancers, that say that I'm dancing for the people that can't dance, or I'm dancing for the people that need it, or if somebody is sick, because dancing is medicine, we believe, and also drumming is medicine too. The songs, some of those songs are passed down, or they are, again, they're sacred songs. And so that's what a powwow is. Some tribes have it, they also call it in their own tribal language, like Wachipi. That is the Lakota language for how they say powwows. So it's really nice. And as far as for anybody that was going to go to a powwow for their first time and what they would expect. So if you walk into the Extra Mile Arena and you come, you'll probably most likely first hear the drum music, and you'll probably walk into an intertribal where it's everyone can dance, whether you're a junior category, 7 years old, or you're in the golden age and you're 71 years old, and everyone dances and the drum is singing, and it's just, you feel great because it's positive energy, it's good medicine. And I don't ever remember or recall someone going to a powwow and being mad, or somebody going to a powwow and going in there grumpy and then coming out grumpy. So I would say that that's what someone that has never been to powwows would expect. And also seeing the vendors, and that's always fun because if you want to try something different for jewelry, or you want to maybe buy a native print blanket, there's always options there. And I believe that natives are the friendliest people in the world. We may be quiet, some of us, but I believe that we are very friendly, and we're always willing to learn from people that are we're always willing to learn from each other.
I can see that just from having a conversation with you. And so tell us what tribe you're a part of.
Yes, my tribe is the Diné tribe, so Navajo, and my family is from northern Arizona, but I was born and raised in Salt Lake City, Utah. But my mom, she was born and raised in northern Arizona on the Navajo reservation.
Okay. And what was it like growing up being a part of a tribe and having that be your family history?
Sure. So growing up in Salt Lake City, Utah, I grew up in the city, but whenever we could, typically for Christmas and every October, sometimes in the summer, maybe for Easter, we'd go travel back down to my mom's reservation in Tuba City, Arizona, and we'd visit my grandma. And that was a complete, I would have to say, a culture shock, because my grandma, she didn't have, for the first 20 years of my life in her Hogan, she didn't have running water or electricity. So everything, I remember she has a white basin and she would wash her hair in it. And when she needed to go to the restroom, we'd have an outhouse behind her Hogan. And so that was a big something that I'll never forget. And also, I would also go outside a lot because, as a kid, if there's no TV in the house, so you're like, okay, well, let's go see what's outside. Yeah. And I always appreciated that because I really noticed things around me, the environment. I mean, I go from grass on the ground of the soil, and I go to sand, nothing but sand all over. And I really love to explore around my grandmother's house and her land, and that was something that it was different, but that's one of my favorite memories of going down to see my grandmother. And that's something that is the big difference between where I grew up and where my grandma was from, is just just the things that we take for granted every single day.
Totally.
And something that I appreciate more is just being around the people that I love. That's the most important thing. And I'll never forget those Christmases without television, without anything that was distracting. All we did was talk to each other.
Yeah, that sounds so nice. And what a cool experience to be able to go back to what's truly important, like within your family, and just being with each other, like you said, without distractions.
Yes.
Because that's something that not a lot of people get to go out and experience, or all they know is the distractions, the television, what is there even to do outside?
Yes.
There's a lot to do
outside. Yes.
If you just take a step away. And so that's a really cool perspective of seeing how your grandmother lives too. And she works with what she has, and she's grateful for it.
Yes.
And she's like, this is all I need. And so that's a really sweet perspective, and something that I think a lot of people would benefit from thinking about, of like, what is truly important in my life, and what distractions can I get away from?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So those are really sweet memories.
Yes.
What are some impactful memories from the Boise powwow that you've had?
So from the Boise powwow, some impactful memories is, I'll never forget this moment. It was about 2, maybe 3 years ago, and I wasn't a part of the powwow committee. I was just there to dance. And I remember one of the spiritual advisors, he came out and he was talking, giving the prayer, and then also giving some advice to everybody at the powwow. And I remember he said words like, and I'm paraphrasing, is that after the pandemic, he said, I know that we're inside all the time and because of this pandemic, but we need to go outside as much as we can, because when you're inside, you just think so much, and that's not good. And he said this next, which I'll never forget, that I always hold deep in my heart, and I always base my majority of my decisions on what he said was, if there's something good, go to it. And I can even visualize it in my head when he said that. He had his mic in his hand and he motioned one of his hands and like pushed, like, go to it if it's good. And so whenever sometimes I may be feeling lonely, or maybe I'm a bit jittery because I'm anxious about, something, I tell myself, is there a powwow going on? And maybe I'm like going back and forth, like, should I go or shouldn't I go? Maybe I should stay home and clean, or maybe I should just try to rest. But then I remember what that elder says, like, if it's something good, go to it. And powwows are good, so I go to it. And I mention that a lot to whether it's my friends or even a group that I'm involved with, the community, because I believe that's really good advice. And I believe that you can't go wrong with that advice, because, well, if it's not good, then don't go to it. It's not going to serve you anything. And that right there is my best memory. And it's been a life-changing experience. And I always want to see that elder again, and I always want to go up to him and tell him thank you for those words, because they've really changed my life. But unfortunately, I haven't seen him again yet. But when I do see him again, I just want to say thank you.
And maybe he'll be listening to this.
No, wonderful. I don't even know his name, and I that's where I want to kick myself. I was like, oh, I should have, right after he said those words, I should have went right up to him and said thank you and introduced myself.
Yeah, that's really motivating advice, and cool that it's stuck with you and you've applied it to your life.
Yes.
And I think that's something that everybody could use to think about, and everyone's moral compass is going to be different, so something that's good for somebody is not going to be good for somebody else.
Yes.
And so that's where you have to weigh your decisions. But if you're thinking about, is this good for me? Is this good for others? What's my motivation for doing this? And that's really cool that powwows are your happy place.
Yes.
And so you go to them to feel safe. And do you travel around to other powwows besides just the one that's held here?
Yes, I travel around to other powwows. Over the summer, I went to a powwow in Montana in a place called Arley. It's on the Flathead Indian Reservation. And I tend to always go to powwows that I've never been to before. And that was the first time I've been there. And another powwow I went to Bozeman and in Montana, and over there it's I think it's the Montana State University that's in Bozeman, and I went to that one, and that was so neat. But I've been to powwows in Connecticut, Colorado, Arizona, Utah, Washington, and I love traveling, and I love experiencing not only different powwows, but the powwows that are made up by the tribes of those different different locations that I've been up to, because some of them, they'll bring out their own tribal dances and they'll showcase it to the spectators and to the powwow people, and it's really great to see.
Yeah, what a cool way to step outside of your comfort zone too. I've never been here, but we're gonna go see what it's like anyway and experience other people's cultures. So it sounds like the powwows are very inclusive with a bunch of different tribes, correct?
Yes.
Like bringing their individual cultures into this event together for everyone to experience.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really
it's
neat.
Great.
And cool that students who have never even been to one can still join and take part in experiencing Indigenous culture. Is there anything that you wish students knew about powwows?
Yes. So something that I wish that students knew about powwows is that anybody can go. It's not just for Native Americans to go to. Anyone can go. It's an open family event, and sometimes there's a fee to go to a powwow, to pay at the door, or it's free. And there's food there. There's food like Indian tacos, or sometimes they'll have other foods there, like maybe tacos, like or maybe hamburgers and fries. So it's funny because from that point of view, somebody that's not Native, I always get that impression. They're like, "Can I go?" And I was like, "Of course you can go." I mean, it's a family event, and we're always welcoming for people to learn. And I believe that the more we learn from other cultures, the more that we can have a discourse, an open discourse, and we can just really understand each other better, and there won't be those barriers of "you're not welcome here," or there won't be those barriers of "I don't understand," and maybe if they don't understand, then assumptions are made. And so I believe that if it's a welcoming event, and if you go, then you're just you're broadening your horizons, and you're being open to all cultures.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of Boise State's values is belonging. And so, and exploring. So if you're exploring a new culture and taking a step outside of something that to understand something new and find belonging within that. So that's really neat. And so to wrap up our conversation today, if you had one piece of advice for students, what would it be?
Oh, my one piece of advice for students. I would have to say my piece of advice would be use all the resources that Boise State provides. Example, the Writing Center. I feel that it's a great resource because it's free. You could go there, you can submit your items, whether it's via Zoom or you can submit it where you don't have to meet up with them. You can just do it all through on your computer, and you just submit it, and then they'll evaluate it and then send it right back to you. Or you can go in person, so that's great. Also, just they have counseling here on campus, which is great. So if you need someone to talk to, and if you need to figure some things out, that's always a great source. And also study at school. I know that some people maybe are like, no, I prefer to study at home. That's my environment. That's my comfort place. Well, I believe there's a lot of comfort places here on campus. For example, I love studying in the Student Union building. I have a spot. I'm not going to give it away because that's, but I love studying there. And it's just something that I don't have much distractions. If I'm thirsty, I can go right down to Starbucks, or if I need to relax and just take a 5-minute break from studying, I can go lay on a couch up there. And so I would say that just use many of sources here, and remember the library. If you need to borrow a book, they're free too, as long as you have your Boise State ID card. They're free, and as of now, I think that they do not do any more late fees. So just bring it back when you can. I mean, just bring it back for the date they want you to, they right. is due, but don't take it for granted and just take a book home. But yeah, there's no late fees, and I really love that. So use all your resources as you can, and if you don't know where to find it, you can always go ask the front desk at the Student Union building, and they'll always help you.
Yeah, there's so many great resources within Boise State. And shout out to Albertsons Library, which is where we are recording in the sound studio. Just another great resource for students.
A podcast room. It's great.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Thank you for being here today, Veronica, and for sharing with us about the Seven Arrows Powwow and what powwows in general are like. I learned a lot from our conversation, so I hope that our listeners did. Students in Boise State community, consider checking out the Seven Arrows Powwow on March 30th and 31st. And go there with an open mind and just be respectful of the culture that you'll experience. And it will be something new and different for you to be a part of. And to learn more about powwows, we have an article on the Boise State Student Life blog called The Powerful History of the Boise Powwow. And if you liked this episode, share it with a friend, maybe a friend that you want to go to the powwow with. Also, if you have a cool story or perspective to share, reach out to us via the Student Life website or email us at studentlife@boisestate.edu. So, thanks for listening today, and we'll catch you on the next episode.